Hello again. Could you please stop interfering with the signal? My favorite part of the show is on, and I believe we've had enough of your little interruptions to last one eternity. Some people like their narratives to be fully cohesive. Thank you. Where were we?
I'm not legally obliged to answer. That information stays between me and myself. Besides, didn't I just go over the fact that the papers are, important? Maybe I just felt like treating them with a bit more respect, since I initially disregarded their intrinsic value. Don't quote me on this, but I've heard it's healthy and normal to feel legitimately sorry about things. You know what? I better apologize. I'm sorry, papers. Truly. I overlooked your rightful place in this operation. It's not about the way that you rest on the floor in a sad heap. It's in the way that you bind yourself to this awful predicament that we find ourselves in. Together. And I respect you playing the part of peacekeeper in these trying times. Just between us two, I think Taz is being more than a little unfair right now. You don't deserve that callous treatment. Nobody deserves that. Except for me, obviously. Shh. It's okay. I don't mind taking the weight of your markings on my back. You're in good hands now that I've established a mock dialogue with you.
Wow, alright. Thanks for the fucking deluge of yet more useless derision. All of that was extremely relevant and exactly what we needed to help us figure this out. I'm sure the papers appreciate your kind actions and consideration. But just as a thought, maybe politely asking them what you should be doing from the get-go would make your life easier next time.
I'm not sure how willing they are to open up at this point. Maybe it would be best if you asked them politely, since you can both see and hear us having this very real conversation in very real time. I know, right? Sorry, talking to the papers.
I can't believe I'm about to humor this with an actual response, but the audio and visual feeds don't go both ways. I'd just be talking at my screen, not very helpful for spoken conversation.
You can type your response. I will translate all of your snarling.
Or, here's a wild idea. Maybe we should get back to fucking work.
And here's an even wilder idea. Perhaps let me fucking have this? Or better yet, let me apologize to you for this attempt to line up a situation which I have had no control over so far, and was quite literally dragged into against my will, on what is turning out to be the second worst day of my regrettable spawning, only to be greeted with none other than the one person who I never wanted to hear the death rattle of her keyboard at me again. Oh yeah, and I'm apparently about to die, unless I follow either your screeching directions or the ravings of an incomprehensible slam jockey with more exposed RGB wires than common decency. Can't forget about that. So please, excuse me for trying to keep my spirits up in the middle of your rampaging temper tantrums, as you just yell the same things over and over and over again and act like I'm incapable of understanding even the most rudimentary of concepts. Do you want me to fucking grovel at your feet and thank you for the molten irradiated core that is your catastrophic anger? As if that's not been a haunting specter constantly looming over me for all these sweeps? Do you want me to get results, or do you want to keep wasting your time by saying I'm wasting mine? This is a two-way rostrum that you and I are barely standing on. So if you want something done the you way, by all means, take it to your own personal floor. But as far as my side of the podium is concerned, I'll keep doing things my way. And if I absolutely have to, I'll make sure to meet you smack dab in the middle axis in order to ensure our continued survival. But once this is over, don't you fucking dare think that I'm going to keep this little lambasting act up. Once I'm out of here, we're done. Now, let's just move on and figure out what these codes are for.
No. You just word vomited all of that at me, and we are going to discuss it. I have things that I've been aching to get off my chest for sweeps. And if you think that what I managed to say so far is molten and irradiated, then you're even more pathetic than I remembered. I'm not saying half as much as I could be, you disease-ridden fuzzball. Not even a minute amount of potential damage has been dealt in my turn to phrase. But now I'm going to go off.
Go off? On what exactly? Maybe you mean against everything I just went off about earlier, before I went off myself. That doesn't sound like a very good strategic plan to me, Taz. I thought you didn't deal in feelings. Besides, I've already laid everything that could possibly be laid out between us. Let's not open this box again. I'm tired of the endless masochism tango. More importantly, these papers are also included in the things that I have laid out between us. So how about you and I get back to business and not let pesky things such as deep-seated emotions throw us off the top of the maneuvering ball we're both acting a fool on. You probably have the next step. What is it?
I have the next step. You're the one who's making all these off-kilter connections in the first place, and you have the papers, not me. What kind of esoteric chain reaction did these things even set off inside your head? I really don't know what we're supposed to be doing with them. Care to explain?
Well, it's mostly to do with the stuff I've mentioned having seen in the past. Just in general. Almost like they were designed to invoke some kind of emotion from me once this all started to happen. Subconscious connection or something. I don't know. I'm not about to burst into tears over this masterpiece before it really earns it, though.
Well, if you want to try to prove your theory on the etchalizer, there's a sand ticker type of icon there for me. Can you do anything with that?
Arcjec, open Etchalizer.
I can't. If I had to take a wild guess, it's probably because it's not my turn to use it yet. You know, like it said in the tutorial. Also, Etchalizer is such a god-awful name for a device. Sounds like you just stitched two words together in a vain attempt to make a cool, funky new word for a weirdo puzzle, only for it to fall flat on its face, because who would even want to say something like that out loud?
I don't think I can even pronounce it in the first place.
See? Bad game design.
Taz, press sand ticker.
At least I can click on my bad game design. It just gave me a bunch of loops and pointy bits with numbers under them. Sort of looks exactly like the stuff penned on your nightly stack of prophetic dream omens. I'm not sure if they're the same codes, but they're something.
Well, I've only seen the ones in my dreams. But with the way that the pieces of this absurd puzzle are starting to align, I don't see why Mert would mention them if they were useless, or why I would even have all of them in the first place. Either way, he gave us some numbers and said they were codes that need to be known going in. Whether they're mine or not doesn't matter right now. What we need to do is figure out how to input them and in what order.
There's no number input over here. What else is there? I could try working with the diagram itself and see if some magic happens.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Glad I didn't have to say them.
Taz, try to replicate a symbol on the diagram.
It's lit up. I'm actually impressed that this is just working out like that. Fucking how?
Good for us, and for you specifically, since I'm just sitting on my ass over here right now.
Just continue sitting on your ass while I put the rest of these in.
You make it sound like I'm complaining about it.
Taz, click the green button.
Oh fuck, there it goes. That's one down, I guess. I'm glad it actually worked out. The Etchalizer took the code and marked it off on the side, in one of those little circular slots. Looks like I might be able to do something else with it, but for now, I should probably just finish putting the rest of them in.
So I know I just said that I'd love to continue being plastered to the cushy bumps of my ass cocoon, but just to let you know, I did gather all this information and share some deep, dark, hidden truths with you, in the secret hope that some of it might actually be useful here.
Well, you've got the same kind of symbols in front of you too, right?
Maybe. I still haven't seen yours, but the numbers from the memo and the ones that I have don't correlate. I'm guessing these are the personal codes that were briefly mentioned, which is kind of worrying given the very specific circumstances of their acquisition. I doubt the entire peanut gallery's been strung up by their dreams in the same way that I have though. Hopefully. I'll cross my fingers on as many instances of broken twists that I can manage that they haven't. But I digress. Am I supposed to give you my paper codes too? This echelonizer function is kind of useless to me right now. Should I blindly flail them around in order to get the right angle on that creepy voyeur lens you're watching me through? Read everything out loud? Try some interpretive dancing?
Probably not. All of that sounds exceedingly stupid of you. Also, there's still no numerical input. Maybe try inputting one of them in the thing and tell me what you get.
Arcjec. Input symbol.
Well, inputting it into the diagram and hitting the green button, because the hourglass function is still bunk for me, turns the symbol green. It flashed for a second in order to communicate something akin to, "Good job!" Then it retreated into the corner like yours did. I guess now the chore lies in setting up the rest of the codes.
Okay, perfect. I was already working on putting the rest of mine in, so you can go ahead and do the same. We'll figure out what the next step is once that's done.
I'll be sure to defer your holy authority in the future, but way ahead of you. By the way, have you done any more thinking on what all this is accomplishing?
Depends on what you mean.
I'm not sure what I mean. I think I want to know what I mean too. I've already mentioned it, but this just feels so unreal. We've gotten extensive explanations and directions, clear immediate goals, but none of them add up or make any damn sense unless you've got some sort of insider information or something. Even the smallest glints of knowledge we have so far only make things more confusing. And everything seems so tailored to us, specifically. I mean, the tutorial even stated that in plain terms. It's unsettling.
Arcjec, I don't think, I act. Continuing to mull over this in circles is pointless until we have more information. It's not going to make the situation any better. Stop trying to rationalize the irrational. The only way to get results is to stop talking to me and mumbling to yourself and do it. I've already told you this. Also, I just got done with all my code inputs, despite your claims of being ahead of me. That diatribe we shared just now set you back a couple of minutes, and we don't have any to spare.
I said I was handling it, and it's being handled. You know, you're really making me feel like some sort of green-haired off-brand elf, slowly waddling toward the precipice of immediate doom.
Hang on, I think there's more stuff to look at on my end now. Yeah, there's new shit in the inventory.
Wait, don't touch it yet. I'm almost ready.
Don't you have less slots to me? What's taking you so long? What is your problem this time?
It's nothing, okay? Just don't worry about it. It's not like that stopped you before. Here, it's done.
Alright, that just loaded up 5 more items for me. One of them is red.
Yeah, great.
Taz, deploy the red box. No, you're not even going to make the attempt. The entire thing is coded in red, which is an obvious visual signifier that clicking it will result in approximately Jack Dick. How many times will you have to remind people that you know a thing or two about video games? Taz, click on the first item instead then. Looks like you're going to need a bit more room in order to use this thing. Setting it up outside might be the best option.
So, what does the thing do? Something that will finalize this process, hopefully.
Maybe. It says we have insufficient space here for these items. and one of them can't be used at all until we get everything else set up. So this might be the final bit.
Oh, hold up. I got an update. I checked my inventory and I had nothing new there, so I ended up clicking on my symbol inputs instead, just to see if anything would happen. Lo and behold, I was granted the numeric input. Of course, since nothing can ever be simple and straightforward, all these buttons are encrypted in some weird symbolic equivalent. So I'm being forced to print out that garish cipher key that Murret made for me against my will. Ugh. I just tab it open and wait for it to load, but I guess this game is just too important to let me do anything other than gaze at its flashy, eye-straining splendor. Let me see if this yields any results real quick before we move on.
Arcjec, print. Arcjec, attempt to input numeric code.
Well,
Nope, nothing. It gave me an error message that said the pillars need to be calibrated and the gate pieces properly connected before I can input the final codes.
clicking on mine does nothing but bring back the list, so this task is on you. Time to focus on it. We're going to have to go outside to set the rest of this up. Do you have another chatter device?
No.
Then we won't be able to communicate beyond me having to hear your bitching out loud. If you need to say anything important, you're gonna have to holler at me. So this should be our last conversation for a while.
Aren't you relieved?
No, I'm not. I don't think we're ever going to be given that benefit.
Yeah, well, it was never a benefit to begin with, was it?
You used to think otherwise.
Yeah, I did. And after you ruined my life, I grew up. Just like you always wanted.
You're really showing me otherwise. Your complete backward swerve in attitude doesn't mean you're more mature or that you've changed in ways that matter. I can take ownership of my actions, but I'm not responsible for the way you handle your problems. I never have been. Now I'm done talking about us. You need to get whatever the fuck you need from your hive and get out of it. If I were you, I'd go ahead and take the papers with me too.
Arcjec, grab your scythe. Leaving that conversation without another word, you retrieve the one thing you feel the need to take from your hive. You have no idea what might be in store next, and it never hurts to have a weapon to defend yourself with, if any situations find themselves getting a tad hairy down the line. Not that this thing is actually useful in any material way. You just barely know how to swing it without falling on your ass and breaking your spine in the process. Scythes are the standard issue protective gear for all the grubs on your planet, a needed precaution against the onslaught of dangerous creatures that inhabit each and every corner of it. This won't really help them with anything that has the equivalent motor skill to a freshly graduated tyke, but it's the gesture that counts. Somewhat. Most trolls get a weapon more befitting of their personality and martial prowess later in life, but you've never had a reason to use this thing in the first place. You have your rather gifted set of circumstances to thank for that. Nevertheless, these current circumstances are the opposite of gifted, so you allocate it back into your strife specifics for the first time in recent memory. Right. Inventory done. Arcjec, take one last look at the book on top of the thermal hull. You can't leave this behind. It's become such an ingrained habit to pretend it doesn't exist. At least, that's what you tell yourself. But it's always in the back of your mind, isn't it? Even after all these sweeps, just glancing at the cover is like twisting a hot knife inside your chest. The memories carefully tucked away in this book hound you, circling your thoughts like birds of prey, waiting for just the right moment to strike. And they always find you. You've never been very good at letting go. Why did everything go so wrong? Arcjec, capture log book. You capture log the book into your replica modus. Once capture logged, the modus will automatically generate a ghost image of the item in question inside the inventory. The two iterations of the object are linked. When retrieving an item, you can either choose the real iteration or the phantom iteration. Phantom items tend to have a more potent intended effect compared to its real version, when applicable. The workings of your modus are highly case-dependent and specific on that front. It also has the side effect of making the newly made phantom item rather fragile and/or volatile once it is taken out of its card. This means you basically have an infinite supply of code red, which is usually what you have stored inside, as long as you don't take out the real item. Phantom code red is pretty alright when the can doesn't explode. Not nearly as spooky as the name makes it sound.
Hey, one last thing.
What are you even doing back here? I'm sizing up the outside of your hive for what we have to do next, and you need to get a fucking move on. I've repeated myself way too many times at this point. We don't have time for more bullshit infighting on who's allowed to take home the grand trophy of standing champion of emotional damage. Your life's on the line, and I'm doing you a service by trying to save it. Maybe you still don't want to do this, maybe you're still scared. None of these feelings will matter if you're dead.
That's not why I'm doing this. I know we don't have the time or whatever, but I've got no idea what's going to happen next, and neither do you. This might be the last time we hear from each other, so I just want to say a final piece. You know, I actually had a contingency plan for that already, to fire in case of my untimely demise. Gave Liven my last words to pass on to you and everything. Of course, that whole situation ended up just being another red herring shoved in my craw before I was swept into this aggressive battle of wits. I've been so fiercely spun around by the same circling topics that I'm pretty sure my body's about to gyrate out into the void, never to return. Maybe more literally than I'd like, depending on what happens here.
I don't owe you anything. I have never owed you jack from shit. How can you even talk down to me like that? You're repressed walking filth. What could you possibly have to say to me that's so important? No. If anyone here owes someone else anything, it's you who owe me for even doing this in the first place. My blood pusher is not running on simple kindness and goodwill. The only reason I'm doing this is because my hand has been metaphysically shoved back into the mire of your simmering post-juvenile muck puddle. I didn't want to have this conversation. I don't want any of this. But as it turns out, fate decided to drop us on the goddamn get-along platter. So stop acting like all of this is my fault.
Yeah, but you used to want it. Unless I'm getting the wrong impression from the 1.5 quadrillion unanswered messages you've sent me over the past 2 sweeps.
Are you actually telling me you read those?
Of course I did. I just ignored them. What point would there be in answering? I mean, I never had any doubts that the outcome of any conversation we might have had was going to be something like this. And I didn't want that after what happened. It wasn't worth it.
Yeah, well, what do you want me to say to that? It is what it is at this point, Arcjec.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare fucking say that after your little taking responsibility for your own actions spiel. There's no claims of personal nature you can use to justify or change the fact that you are the one who made me the person I am today. So why don't you tell me something? If it is what it is, then why am I still plagued by a constant malice day after day, stuck wondering if I ever even meant anything back then? If it is what it is, then how come whenever I look back, all I can see is how much better my life was back then, before you took everything that gave it meaning and shattered it on the ground? None of this is what it is. This is not the life I wanted, it's the life you caused in the pieces you left me with. And if it can be said to be anything, then it's a nightmare that I've been trapped in for sweeps.
I didn't make you like this. You can't blame me for your own decisions, their consequences, and their fallout. You still don't understand that I did what I had to do. The only person you can blame for the state you're in right now is you. You are responsible for yourself. So grow the fuck up for real this time. You may have changed, but your world is still just as big of a fantasy as it used to be. You only flip your perspective on it upside down. You're not any less of an escapist fool than you were when we first met.
So I guess we're exactly the same then, aren't we? You're not any less of an impulsive, destructive asshole either.
We are nothing alike. You only tried to make it that way.
You saying that only makes me sure that I'm right.
I hope you're satisfied, having done an extremely poor job of emulating this make-believe conception of me.
Okay, this is not getting us anywhere. I'll boil my point down to easy, digestible words. After whatever is about to happen happens, we should actually just leave this. We need to stop talking to each other. We need to stop acknowledging that we even exist. It would just be for the best. I'm sure you agree.
Sounds fucking amazing. Not sure if it's actually gonna be possible though. We still have no clue what to expect from this game. But if it works out that way, then yes, by all means, stay away from me.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Let's do this then. I'm going out. Bye, Tazia.
Fuck you!
And with that, a boy who has lost all fondness for youth walks the dividing line between apathy and desperation. The path he is about to walk marks the first step taken on stage, where he and the people he relentlessly pushes away will be swept into a long journey, the magnitude of which they do not yet know and cannot prepare for. Over and over, he will be faced with adversity he alone must overcome. If not for himself, then for everyone else he holds dear. He will be tried in a tale built around his choices, a tale that has been told and retold again and again since the dawn of time, variations on the same theme. It is here that the protagonist of our final retelling will enter the spotlight at curtain's call. Arcjec, enter.